horses. Good day to you, partner. I'm Guy, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King, doing my last version of the Innocence ATD Crushing Blow Wind Druid, originally inspired by Schmitty's Innocence Wind Proc Druid builds. I actually think this build sucks. Now, we'll get to all of that eventually. Now, as you can see, I'm actually having a more functional swap. It's not perfect. There's a lot of things that are kind of iffy because I just don't have the corruptions done. I'm missing a ton of faster run walk, I'm missing some plus skills, and I'm missing some ATD. Now, my plus skills aren't trying to make up for the fact that I'm missing ATD on certain pieces of gear because my rolls are so good because I just have, the pluggy gear, right? I do have an ignore target defense small charm, and that's because my Storm Lash cored really, really poorly. And yes, you could have a Storm Lash with ITD in a P-box, and that would actually be a great Storm Lash for any Innocence-based build. Now, level 57 Spirit of the Barbs is actually pretty reasonable. Technically, it would require a really good weapon swap, and then +1 on your helm and +1 on your lidless. 55 would be much more likely, because I doubt anyone's going to want to swap anything else than what they're basically seeing on the screen right now. Now, technically, I have some room for some more skillers, so that kind of gives me some leeway as well. But again, are people going to want to swap as much as I'm doing? They might only want to swap the rings and the Ami, and in which case, it would actually line up pretty well. Because at that point, you would do rings, amulet, and then just your weapon, and that would actually be a big reason to swap, right? Because it's like a +7 skill stick or a +6 skill stick. Not completely out of line, maybe +5 is a little more reasonable. You get the point. Now, why am I putting the plus skills back on? I just want to be fair. That's for the faster run walk. In fact, faster run walk is the most important part of this build, and if you're going the bear route, which I am, I actually think faster run walk is better than life. So if I was going to redo this, there'd be two things I'd change. I would make sure Twister synergies are maxed, and I would have more faster run walk anywhere possible. Now, this is just to give you an idea about what the damage are of the abilities that I'm proccing with Innocence, just so you can kind of see that they actually do significant damage. Now, the damage won't be much higher if you had all the synergies maxed, and that's the problem with Schmitty's version of the build. Why? Because something called next hit delay exists. Now, by the way, this map did not roll super well, so keep that in mind as well. Bubbles is going to point out that Twister actually was buffed to 12 frames of next hit delay, not 25. This was the old Diablo 2 next hit delays. Why does that affect this build so much? If any skill, like Tornado or Twister, hits an enemy, it'll proc the next hit delay flag. That means any ability on that list will no longer damage that enemy until that flag is gone. Why is that so bad? Well, a 25 frame next hit delay from Tornado means a 4-frame next hit delay of Teeth or Nova won't be able to damage it until 25 frames pass. That's why. Now, Twister having 12 frames is a significant buff, but it's not enough to make this build work. Don't worry about the editing. I was having internet issues and I was trying to enjoy this amazing song by Mike Bloomfield and Woody Herman. And so, blame McDonald's Wi-Fi. I swear to God, I'm not trying to save a couple frames and splice footage together. I did have a better map, and my computer took a crap on me. It had Velocity and Monster IAS. But let's just finish this off. If you were going with Schmitty's version of the build and going just into your Twister and Tornado synergies, you can run amplified damage procs, and that would probably be way, way better. Now the problem is, how are you going to get amplified damage? Well, as you remember from the last video, you can run a a Saccharin's Chance. The problem is you're a lot squishier, and the build does have some squishiness issues. Metal Grid is a lot more superior for just mapping in general when you don't quite need the amp on most mobs. Now, of course, on the elites or the Claw Vipers in this map, or maybe like the Moon Lords, your Thrashers, your Brutes, the big fat tanky guys. Also, things can spawn immune to physical, but my advice is just run past them like I do in this map. If any spawn, I'm pretty sure a few spawn. But you can run an Act 1 Merc, which would make Schmitty's version of the build better. The reason why I don't believe in it is because if you're actually playing this build quickly, or playing any running-based build quickly, Mercs kind of just don't accomplish anything, unfortunately. They run to their deaths and don't attack enough. Running quickly is actually worse for Mercs than porting quickly, because at least porting, they seem to actually aggro and do actions consistently, while if you're running, they seem to spend most of their time running and just warping around randomly and then dying. And so I don't think that version of the build works either. Now, could you play a little bit slower and focus on T3s, and then you get amplified damage, and all of a sudden your Twister and Tornado are nearly one-shotting mobs? Yes. It doesn't quite line up, though, because you're just not going to have the damage to consistently one-shot things, so you're not going to be clearing content quickly enough. At least in these T2 and T1s with Emilio, he survives, he won't die. I know, don't look at the name, okay? I promise it's Emilio. He basically lives because of Defiance, I'm just going to be honest. That's the reason why he won't die compared to other mobs. It's actually not for me. Although this build does have some squishiness issues, and it does help. With the gear I have on, and also with just having a full belt of tubes, I was never afraid of dying. And then also Emilio gives me some more ATD. And that's why I think my version of the build is actually superior, especially if you had more faster run walk. Hunger and Bear gives you the faster run walk you need and the survivability you need to make this build work a little better. Since Twister and Tornado are unreliable, unfortunately, due to their massive next hit delays, that's why I combine in Spirit of Barbs, Crushing Blow, and Storm Lash's juicy static field. Now, is the build perfect? Would I make it? No. It is fun to play, and I did enjoy playing it, but in my opinion, this is a meme build. I'm just going to say it face flat. Why is it a meme build? It's just too expensive and doesn't do good enough for me to call it anything else. Now, is doing a sub 8 T2 with bad rolls and like fairly good density really that bad? No. Is it that good for how much it costs? Now you see the problem. Now, like I said, if you're running Schmitty's version of the build and you have the Merc behind you and you're doing a T3 with Amp, you can definitely run T3s. In fact, you can run T3s with my version of the build. But you're going to be clearing a little slower, and then again, there's builds, not even Poison Nova, that are clearing T3s around 6 minutes consistently. And again, many builds can do that, not just Poison Nova, which is around 4 minutes on an ROB. So, what are your options? Is there anything you could do if you really want to make this? You're watching this video right now, and you're like, Skelly King, what did you do wrong that I could fix? Focus on Twister. Now, I think Stormlash has no other option for it, unfortunately. It's just too good. So you focus on the Twister synergies, you don't give a shit about the Tornado synergies, and you cut a few more points from Poison Creeper if you have to, which I think you will. Now, I do think Spirit of Barbs deserves a max out, but the reason why Poison Creeper doesn't work for this build, and again, I'm super high on Poison Creeper. I think it's the best skill to clear all the way through hell. 20-point wonder, I love it. The problem is, when you're playing super fast, it has the same properties of a Merc, where it just doesn't do enough. Basically, the Poison Creepers will like warp together and affect one area. So basically, if you had 3 affecting more areas of the map quickly, it would definitely be worth the points on this build and any Druid. But on this build, I'm running too quickly, and the Poison Creepers just kind of will go to one spot. And as you can see on the screen, usually only one pack of mobs is being affected by poison at any given time, unless I'm in that area for a little bit longer. And basically, in my opinion, it's a little too slow on this build to actually function. On my chest opening Druid, I think it works, because when I actually open all the chests, the Poison Creepers seem to spread out a little bit more likely. So, you get your Spirit of Barbs, you get your Emilio, you get your Thorns damage from him, you build the gear pretty similarly. Technically, there's a couple of options, like you could drop Ferocity, but Ferocity really helps my survivability in these maps, so just keep that in mind. Although I don't think it's an issue, and you could drop life for faster run walk, if you start to drop life for faster run walk, and you cut Ferocity for, let's say, a G-Bane, right? A G-Face for more Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike. Crushing Blow is what you really want, but Deadly Strike would help a little bit on bosses. Then remember, you're going to be losing that juicy taunt proc. That's it. That's all I have to say. So I'm going to let Mike Bloomfield finish this off. Hopefully I can do one more podcast with Topwood soon. And besides that, guys, Skelly King out. GG.
Come and play with us. Come and play with us, Daddy.